I think I didn't do anything wrong, just tried to help an old friend for one night. Now I'm standing at my own front door, holding divorce papers, wondering how things could go so far over something so harmless. My husband says I've crossed an unforgivable line, but I still don't see it. It started with a simple text from Elliot. Hey Ara, stuck in town tonight. Hotel booking fell through. Any chance I could crash on your couch? Just one night, I promise. I stared at my phone in our living room, considering. Elliot Mercer had been my boyfriend back in university. We'd dated for 2 years before amicably parting ways when I met Simon. Now, 11 years later, he was a successful marketing consultant who occasionally passed through town for work. We'd reconnected on social media a few months ago, exchanging harmless messages about old times and career updates. Simon, I called to my husband, who was helping our 7-year-old daughter Hannah with her homework at the kitchen table. Remember Elliot from uni? He needs a place to crash tonight. His hotel booking got messed up. Simon looked up, his brow furrowing slightly. At 35, my husband had grown more cautious over the years, his work as a financial analyst making him naturally suspicious of sudden changes to routine. Elliot? Your ex-boyfriend Elliot? Oh, come on, I laughed, walking over to ruffle Hannah's dark hair. That was over a decade ago. He's just a friend now. He's stranded. I don't know, Araminta. It feels weird having your ex sleep here. I felt a familiar spike of irritation. Simon could be so controlling sometimes, so insecure. It's just the couch, Simon. One night. What do you think is going to happen? Hannah looked up from her math worksheet, sensing the tension. Who's Elliot, Mommy? Just an old friend, sweetheart. He might stay over tonight because he doesn't have anywhere else to go. My phone rang. Mom calling. Perfect timing. Hi, Mom, I answered, putting it on speaker. You're on speaker with Simon and Hannah. Hello, darling. How are you all? We're good, but Simon's being a bit unreasonable about something silly. Simon's jaw tightened. Araminta, what's wrong? Linda Parrish's voice carried that familiar note of protective concern for her daughter. My friend Elliot needs a place to stay tonight, just the couch, but Simon's making a big deal about it because we dated in university. Over 10 years ago, Mom. Oh, for heaven's sake, Simon. Mom's voice carried clear disapproval. It's one night of hospitality. Are you really going to make Araminta turn away a friend in need because of some ancient history? I watched Simon's face flush slightly. He hated being put on the spot like this, especially in front of Hannah and my mother. It's not about ancient history, he said carefully. It's about boundaries in our marriage. Boundaries, I scoffed, or control issues. Hannah's eyes darted between us, her pencil hovering over her worksheet. Fine, Simon said quietly. One night, just one night. Thank you, I said, already texting Elliot back. See, Mom? Crisis averted. After we hung up, I tried to smooth things over. Simon, really, it's nothing. Elliot's a professional now. He's probably exhausted from traveling. He'll crash on the couch and be gone in the morning. Simon nodded, but I could see the tension in his shoulders as he returned to helping Hannah. Later, I texted Sophie Lang, my best friend. Simon had a total meltdown about Elliot staying over. So paranoid. Sophie texted back immediately. Ugh, men and their fragile egos. You're literally just being a good friend. Elliot arrived around 8 p.m., just as we were finishing dinner. He looked good. The years had been kind to him. Still tall and lean, with that charming smile that had caught my attention in our comparative literature class all those years ago. Araminta! He pulled me into a warm hug that lasted just a beat too long. You look amazing. And this must be Hannah. Hannah smiled shyly from behind Simon's legs. And Simon, right? The famous husband I've heard so much about? Elliot extended his hand with easy confidence. Simon shook it, his smile polite but strained. Welcome. Araminta's set up the couch for you. I really appreciate this. You two are lifesavers. The evening passed pleasantly enough. Elliot was charming as ever, telling funny stories about his travels and asking thoughtful questions about our life. He complimented the apartment, praised Hannah's artwork on the fridge, and even helped clear the dinner dishes, but I noticed Simon growing quieter as the night progressed. Around 10, we put Hannah to bed, and I suggested we all watch a movie. Simon begged off, saying he had early meetings and needed to review some reports. Don't mind him, I told Elliot as Simon disappeared into our bedroom. Work stress. We ended up talking until nearly midnight, reminiscing about university, laughing about professors we'd had, and friends we'd lost touch with. It felt easy and comfortable, like slipping into a favorite old sweater. I should probably let you get some sleep, Elliot finally said, though he made no move to get up from the couch where we'd been sitting. Probably, I agreed, but I was enjoying the conversation too much to end it. It's really good to see you, Era. I've thought about you over the years, you know. Something in his tone made me look at him more carefully. Elliot, I know. You're married. You have a family. I'm not trying to complicate anything. I miss talking to you. I felt a flutter of something, nostalgia maybe, or the ego boost of being desired. I miss talking to you too. When I finally made it to the bedroom around 12:30, Simon was lying on his side, facing away from me. I couldn't tell if he was asleep or just pretending to be. I woke up the next morning to the smell of coffee and bacon. For a moment, I was disoriented. Simon never made breakfast on weekdays. Then I remembered Elliot. I padded to the kitchen to find him at our stove, fully dressed, making breakfast like he belonged there. "Morning, sunshine," he said with that familiar grin. "Hope you don't mind. I'm an early riser, and I wanted to make breakfast as a thank you." "Where's Simon?" "Left about 20 minutes ago. Said he had an early meeting." That was odd. Simon usually said goodbye, even when we'd had a disagreement. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Sophie and a string of texts. "Girl, call me ASAP." Simon texted me at 6 a.m. He's furious. What happened after I went to bed last night? My stomach dropped. Simon had texted Sophie? He never contacted my friends directly. What did you text Sophie? I confronted Simon that evening after Elliot had left and Hannah was in her room. Simon looked up from his laptop, his expression carefully neutral. I asked her if she knew how inappropriate it was for married women to have sleepovers with their ex-boyfriends. Sleepovers? Simon, he slept on the couch. Did he? Because when I got up to get water at 2 a.m., you two were still talking in very hushed voices. And this morning he was making breakfast in our kitchen like he lived here. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. We were just catching up, and he made breakfast to be polite. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because Sophie seemed to think it was perfectly normal for you to complain to her about your husband's meltdown over hosting your ex. Damn, I'd forgotten about that text. I was just venting to my friend Simon. That's what friends are for. Right, and what am I for, Araminta? The question hung in the air between us. I didn't have a good answer. The tension might have blown over, but Saturday was Sophie's birthday party at Café Lumière. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks, a chance to dress up, see friends, and forget about work stress and household responsibilities for a few hours. Sophie had invited about 20 people, a mix of her work friends and our old college crowd. The cafe had been decorated with string lights and balloons, creating a warm, festive atmosphere. I'd spent extra time getting ready, wearing the blue dress that Simon always said brought out my eyes. But Simon had been distant all week, and when I asked if he was coming to the party, he just shrugged and said maybe. Araminta! Sophie hugged me as I arrived. You look gorgeous. How are things with the hubby after the Elliot situation? Oh, you know Simon. He's still pouting about it. Honestly, I think he needs therapy for his jealousy issues. Several friends had gathered around us, drinks in hand, ready for gossip. Wait, what happened with Elliot? Asked Jenna, one of Sophie's coworkers. Araminta's ex from university needed a place to crash for one night, Sophie explained with dramatic flair. Just one night on the couch, and Simon acted like she was having an affair. Everyone laughed, and I felt validated. See? Normal people understood that this was no big deal. Men are so insecure, said Rachel, another friend. My husband gets jealous when I talk to the mailman for too long. Exactly, I said, warming to the theme. It's like Simon thinks I have no self-control, like I'm going to throw away 11 years of marriage for one night of nostalgia. More laughter. I was on a roll. I mean, the man made us breakfast as a thank you, and Simon acted like he was marking his territory or something. I told him, honey, if I wanted Elliot, I wouldn't have married you. The group erupted in laughter and supportive comments. I felt vindicated, surrounded by friends who understood that Simon was being ridiculous. I was so caught up in the attention that I didn't notice Simon enter the cafe until Sophie's expression changed. Oh, hey Simon, she said, her voice suddenly awkward. I turned to see my husband, standing near the entrance, still in his jacket, his face carefully blank. Our eyes met across the room, and I realized with sinking dread that he'd heard at least part of my performance. He didn't approach our group. Instead, he walked over to Sophie, said something quietly to her, probably a polite excuse, and left. The party continued, but some of the joy had gone out of it for me. I posted a few photos on Instagram, including one of me and Sophie, with the caption, "Girls' Night Out, Hish Friendship, Hish Birthday Fun." Later, when Elliot texted, asking how the party was, I sent him one of the photos and wrote back, "Great party. Wish you could have been here." He responded with a heart emoji, and "Next time. You look beautiful, by the way." I screenshotted his response and sent it to Sophie with, "See? Some men know how to give compliments without being weird about it." When I got home around 11, Simon was in our bedroom, methodically folding clothes and placing them in a suitcase. "What are you doing?" He didn't look up. "Packing. For what? You don't have any trips scheduled." "I'm going to stay at Mark's for a while." Mark was Simon's older brother, a divorce attorney, who'd never particularly liked me. "Simon, don't be dramatic." So I vented to my friends a little. "That's normal. Is it normal to mock your husband's concerns to a room full of people? To make jokes about throwing away your marriage?" I was just trying to lighten the mood. "Give me your phone, Araminta." The request was so unexpected that I actually laughed. "Excuse me? Your phone? I want to see your messages with Elliot." "Absolutely not. I'm not a child, Simon. You don't get to go through my things." He finally looked at me, and something in his expression made my stomach clench. "Then I guess we don't have anything more to talk about." "Ooh." He zipped the suitcase and headed for the door. "Simon, wait. You're being ridiculous. Nothing happened." "Ooh." He paused at the bedroom doorway. "You know what, Araminta? Maybe nothing physical happened, but you've made it very clear that my feelings don't matter to you, that our marriage is a joke to you, and that you'll prioritize everyone else's comfort over mine. So I'm done." The front door closed behind him with a quiet click that somehow felt more final than if he'd slammed it. Simon came back 3 days later, but something had changed. He was calm, almost businesslike, in a way that was more unsettling than his previous anger. "We need to talk," he said, finding me in the kitchen after Hannah had gone to school. "Thank God. I was starting to think you'd moved out permanently." "Maybe I have. We'll see." He sat down across from me at our small dining table, pulling out a notebook. "I need you to walk me through the night Elliot stayed here." "Simon, we've been through this. Humor me. What time did he arrive?" Something in his tone made me take this seriously. "Around 8, I think." "And what time did you go to bed?" "I don't know. Midnight? Maybe a little after." 12:47, he said, making a note. "I heard you come in." "Okay, 12:47. So what?" "So you and your ex-boyfriend were alone together, talking in hushed voices, for over 4 hours after I went to bed. We were being quiet because you and Hannah were sleeping. What did you talk about for 4 hours?" I felt trapped by the question. "I don't know, Simon. Old times, current stuff. Just talking, just talking." He wrote something down. "And in the morning, when I left for work, where were you?" "In bed, sleeping." "And where was Elliot?" "In the kitchen, making breakfast." So when I left my house at 6:30 a.m., my wife was asleep in bed, and her ex-boyfriend was cooking breakfast in my kitchen, fully dressed, like he lived there. When he put it like that, it did sound bad. But he was twisting things. He was being polite, Simon. He wanted to thank us for letting him stay, by making himself at home in our kitchen. "You're being paranoid." Simon's expression didn't change. "Show me your phone." "We've been through this. I'm not showing you my phone." "Then show me your messages with Elliot. Just those." "No, Simon. I don't care if you're my husband. You don't get to violate my privacy because you're feeling insecure." He made another note. "Okay. Can you account for your time yesterday, between 2 and 4 p.m.? What is this, a deposition? Can you?" I thought back. Yesterday had been Tuesday. I was at work. "Your assistant said you were out of the office." My blood ran cold. "You called my work?" "I called to speak to my wife and was told she wasn't available." Shit. I had met Elliot for coffee yesterday. He'd texted saying he was back in town for a follow-up meeting and asking if I wanted to grab coffee and continue our conversation from the other night. It had seemed harmless, just coffee between old friends, but I could see how Simon would twist it. "I went out for coffee." "I'm allowed to leave the office, Simon." "With whom?" "That's none of your business." Simon closed the notebook. "Okay, Araminta. I think I have everything I need." "What's that supposed to mean?" but he was already walking away. That evening, I tried to explain things to Hannah when she asked why Daddy seemed sad. Daddy's just being silly about Mommy's friend, I told her as I tucked her into bed. Sometimes grown-ups worry about things that aren't important. Is Daddy going to live at Uncle Mark's forever? No, sweetheart. Daddy just needs some time to think. After Hannah fell asleep, I called my mother. He's being completely unreasonable, Mom. It was one night, and now he's acting like I cheated on him. Stand your ground, darling, Mom said firmly. Don't let him bully you into apologizing for being a good friend. If he can't handle you having male friends, that's his problem, not yours. That's what I think too, but he's being so weird about it. Taking notes, asking about my schedule. It's creepy. He's trying to intimidate you. Don't let him. The next morning, I found something that made my blood run cold. Under the couch cushion where Elliot had slept, there was a small digital voice recorder. Simon had been recording us. I confronted Simon that evening, waving the voice recorder at him. What the hell is this? He looked at it calmly. Insurance. Insurance. You recorded me in my own home. I recorded conversations in my own home, yes. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. This is a one-party consent state, and I was a party to the living situation, even if I wasn't in the room. The casual way he said it, like he'd researched it, made me realize this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Simon had been planning this. You're sick, Simon. This is what controlling husbands do. Is it? Or is this what husbands do when their wives lie to them? I never lied to you. You told me nothing happened that night. But according to this recording, Elliot told you he'd thought about you over the years and missed you. You told him you missed him too. That sounds like something to me. My face burned. That was just nostalgia, old friends catching up. And yesterday's coffee date, was that nostalgia too? How did you? I stopped myself, but it was too late. So you admit you met with him yesterday. I felt trapped. It was just coffee, Simon. Just coffee that you lied about. Just coffee that you hid from me. Just coffee with the man who slept in our living room and told you he missed you. The worst part was, he wasn't yelling. He was just stating facts, and the facts sounded terrible when strung together like that. I want you to stop seeing him, Simon said. You can't control who I'm friends with. Then I can't stay married to you. The words hung in the air between us. You're threatening divorce over coffee with an old friend? I'm telling you that I won't stay in a marriage where my wife prioritizes other men's feelings over mine, lies to me about her whereabouts, and mocks me to her friends for having reasonable boundaries. I felt everything spiraling out of control. At work the next day, I tried to focus on my projects, but I kept getting distracted by texts from Elliot. Coffee yesterday was really nice. I forgot how easy it is to talk to you. I know this is complicated, but I can't stop thinking about you. I'm staying in town an extra few days. Can we meet again? The attention felt good, especially when things at home were so tense. Simon was still staying at Mark's, coming by only to see Hannah or pick up more clothes. I screenshot Elliot's messages and sent them to Sophie. At least someone appreciates my company. Sophie called immediately. Girl, this is getting messy. Maybe you should cool it with Elliot until things settle down with Simon. Why should I? Simon's the one being unreasonable. I know, but maybe just for now? Even Sophie was turning on me. I felt more isolated than ever. That evening, I wrote a long Facebook post. Feeling grateful for the friends who support you unconditionally and don't try to control who you spend time with. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. Some people need to learn the difference between love and possession. #friendship, #trust, #boundaries. The post got dozens of likes and supportive comments from friends who didn't know the full situation. It felt good to have people on my side. But the next morning, I found an official-looking envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a letter from a law firm I didn't recognize. Dear Mrs. Gray, our client Simon Gray has retained our services regarding a legal separation and potential dissolution of marriage. Enclosed, please find documentation supporting grounds for separation based on adultery and breach of marital contract. We request that you retain legal counsel and respond within 10 business days regarding 1. Temporary custody arrangements for Hannah Gray. 2. Division of marital assets and property. 3. Spousal support obligations. Please note that evidence supporting our client's position includes phone records, financial statements, witness testimony, and audio recordings of conversations between you and Mr. Elliot Mercer. Sincerely, Davidson, Walsh and Associates. Attached were copies of my text messages with Elliot, somehow obtained from phone company records, screenshots of my social media posts, bank statements showing my coffee purchases, even a statement from the barista at Café Lumière describing my intimate conversation with a tall, handsome man who wasn't my husband. At the bottom was a transcript of the recording from that first night. Elliot. I've thought about you over the years, you know. Inta. Elliot. Elliot. I know. You're married. You have a family. I'm not trying to complicate anything. I miss talking to you. Inte. I miss talking to you too. Reading it in black and white, it looked damning. My hands were shaking as I called my mother. Mom, Simon's filed for separation. He has lawyers. What? Over one night on the couch? It's more than that now. I met Elliot for coffee a few times. Simon found out. There was a pause. How many times? I don't know. 3 or 4, maybe 5. It was just coffee, Mom. Oh, Araminta. Even my mother's voice had changed. The law firm's conference room was intimidating. All dark wood and leather chairs, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I sat across from Simon, flanked by our respective lawyers, feeling like I was on trial. Simon looked different, professional, distant, like he was conducting a business meeting rather than ending our marriage. His lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Patricia Davidson, laid out their case with clinical precision. Mrs. Gray, our position is that you engaged in an emotional affair with Mr. Elliot Mercer, beginning with inappropriate text messages and culminating in secret meetings. This constitutes adultery under state law and grounds for divorce. I never slept with him, I said, my voice smaller than I'd intended. Adultery doesn't require physical consummation. My lawyer, David Chen, had explained this to me earlier. In this state, emotional infidelity and secretive romantic relationships qualify. Davidson opened a thick folder. Let's review the evidence. First, phone records showing 47 text messages between Mrs. Gray and Mr. Mercer over a 6-week period, including messages sent during work hours and late at night. She slid copies across the table. I recognized my own words, but they looked different typed out in legal documents. Can't wait to see you again, CA. Simon's at work. Coast is clear for coffee. Last night was so nice. Felt like old times. Second, financial records showing Mrs. Gray made 7 purchases at Café Lumière during work hours, despite telling her husband she was at the office. More documents. Bank statements with dates and times highlighted in yellow. Third, witness testimony from cafe staff describing Mrs. Gray's romantic meetings with a man matching Mr. Mercer's description. I wanted to object that the barista didn't know what she was talking about, but the evidence was overwhelming. Fourth, audio recordings of conversations between Mrs. Gray and Mr. Mercer in the family home, including declarations of missing each other and Mr. Mercer's stated desire to rekindle their relationship. They played clips from the voice recorder. Hearing my own voice in that sterile conference room, I realized how intimate our conversations had sounded. Finally, social media posts by Mrs. Gray mocking her husband's concerns and publicly humiliating him regarding this situation. Screenshots of my Facebook posts and Instagram stories were spread across the table like playing cards. Our client is seeking primary custody of Hannah Gray, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Gray until she completes counseling. He's also requesting that Mrs. Gray vacate the marital home and forfeit her claim to spousal support due to her breach of the marital contract. I looked at Simon, trying to find some trace of the man who'd once loved me enough to propose. But his expression was neutral, professional. Simon, I said, ignoring the lawyers. Please, this is crazy. We can work this out. He finally looked at me directly. You had multiple chances to work this out, Araminta. Every time I asked for honesty, you lied. Every time I asked for transparency, you accused me of being controlling. You made your choice. I chose to have coffee with an old friend. You chose to lie about it. You chose to hide it. You chose to prioritize his feelings over mine, repeatedly. And when I tried to talk to you about it, you mocked me to your friends and told our daughter I was being silly. Davidson continued. We're prepared to offer a settlement. Mrs. Gray keeps her car and personal belongings. Mr. Gray keeps the apartment, primary custody, and his retirement accounts. Mrs. Gray gets supervised visitation every other weekend and pays child support based on her income. That's ridiculous, Chen protested. Mrs. Gray has been a devoted mother who told her 7-year-old daughter that daddy was being silly about mommy's secret boyfriend, Davidson shot back. A devoted mother who brought her affair partner into the family home and let him make breakfast for her child. He wasn't my affair partner. Then why did you lie about seeing him? I didn't have a good answer for that. The meeting ended with my lawyer promising to review the settlement offer, but I could tell even he thought Simon's case was strong. Outside the law firm, I called Elliot. This is all falling apart, I told him. Simon's taking Hannah. He's taking everything. I'm sorry, Ara. I never meant for this to happen. Can you write a statement or something? Tell them nothing happened between us? There was a pause. I mean, nothing physical happened. What's that supposed to mean? Come on, Ara. We both felt it. That connection. It wasn't just friendship. My stomach dropped. Elliot, I need you to say nothing happened. I can't lie in a legal document. But look, maybe this is for the best. Maybe this is the universe telling us we're meant to be together. I hung up on him. That evening I sat in my empty apartment. Simon had taken Hannah to his mother's house and realized how completely alone I was. The courthouse was smaller than I'd expected, more like a large office than the dramatic courtroom I'd seen in movies. But the weight of what was happening felt enormous as I sat at the defendant's table, watching the judge review the evidence against me. Judge Patricia Williams was a stern-faced woman in her 50s, who'd clearly seen every variation of marital breakdown in her years on the bench. She flipped through the folder of evidence with practiced efficiency. Mrs. Gray, she said, looking at me over her reading glasses, do you dispute that you engaged in secret communications and meetings with Mr. Mercer? My lawyer had coached me on this. Your Honor, I maintain that my relationship with Mr. Mercer was platonic friendship, and that my husband's reaction was disproportionate to the situation. I see. And do you dispute that you concealed these meetings from your husband? I felt heat rise in my cheeks. I didn't think they were important enough to mention. 7 meetings over 6 weeks, including one in your family home overnight, weren't important enough to mention to your spouse? When she put it like that, it sounded terrible. Simon's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we'd like to present additional evidence that came to light since our last filing. My heart sank. What more could there be? Mr. Mercer provided a sworn statement yesterday regarding his relationship with Mrs. Gray. They handed me a copy, and I read it with growing horror. Elliot had detailed our entire relationship. The late-night conversations, the coffee dates, even his admission that he was trying to win me back. Furthermore, Davidson continued, Mrs. Gray contacted Mr. Mercer after our settlement meeting and asked him to lie in his statement to the court. They had a recording of that phone call, too. Judge Williams looked at me with obvious disapproval. Mrs. Gray, did you ask Mr. Mercer to provide false testimony? I asked him to clarify that nothing physical happened between us. By asking him to lie about his intentions and feelings? I couldn't answer that. The judge reviewed more evidence, statements from Mark and Evelyn Gray describing my behavior, screenshots of my social media posts mocking Simon, even a drawing Hannah had made showing Mommy, Daddy, and Elliot that Simon had found in her backpack. Mrs. Gray, the judge said finally, while you may not have engaged in physical adultery, the evidence clearly shows a pattern of deception, emotional infidelity, and disregard for your marital obligations. You brought another man into your family home, lied to your husband about your relationship with him, and attempted to manipulate legal proceedings. She paused, making notes. Furthermore, your social media posts and statements to your child show a concerning lack of respect for your husband and your marriage. A parent who tells their child that their father is being silly about legitimate marital concerns is not acting in that child's best interests. I wanted to object, to explain, to make her understand that I'd never meant for any of this to happen. But the evidence was overwhelming. I'm granting Mr. Gray's petition for divorce on grounds of adultery. Primary custody of Hannah Gray will go to her father, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Gray every other weekend, pending completion of family counseling. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. Mrs. Gray, you have 48 hours to vacate the marital residence. This court is adjourned. I sat in stunned silence as people filed out around me. Simon paused at my table, and for a moment I thought he might say something kind, something that acknowledged the 11 years we'd had together. Oh. Instead, he just said, Hannah's things are packed. She'll be staying with my mother until you've moved out. Then he was gone, and I was alone in the empty courtroom. Outside, my mother was waiting, her face drawn with worry and disappointment. "Oh, Araminta," she said, pulling me into a hug. "What have you done?" For the first time since this all started, I began to cry. Not the angry tears of someone who felt wronged, but the broken tears of someone who finally understood what she'd lost. I'd thrown away my marriage, my family, my home, all for what? Coffee dates with a man who disappeared the moment things got complicated? The validation of friends who didn't know the whole story? The thrill of feeling desired by someone new? Standing on the courthouse steps, holding the divorce papers that officially ended my marriage, I finally understood what Simon had been trying to tell me all along. It was never about one night on the couch. It was about trust, respect, and the thousand small choices that either build a marriage or tear it down. I'd made the wrong choice every single time. Now I had 48 hours to pack up the life I'd destroyed, and nowhere to go but my mother's spare bedroom. A 32-year-old divorced woman who'd lost everything because she couldn't see the difference between friendship and betrayal. The worst part was, I still wasn't entirely sure I understood where I'd gone wrong. But as I walked away from the courthouse alone, I knew I'd have plenty of time to figure it out.
望晒受害的分痛，头望上的到 wished。